there is another campaign that those students, different students, those ones have now graduated, but new students, that I think is really, really troublesome and I wanted to raise in my speech today, and I sincerely hope will find its way into one of the 38 bills. And that is a campaign to stop the use of gagging clauses for university students, and in particular young women, because it's mainly young women who are the victims of this, from being encouraged to not speak out about their experiences of sexual assault in university. Now, the prevalence of sexual violence among young women and girls is well known, and there are doughty campaigners on this across all sides of this House. The group Make It Happen, It Happens Here supports survivors of sexual violence at the University of Oxford, and they urged one survivor, and I'm going to call her Lucy, and she's given me permission to tell her story today, to show just how widespread this issue is. Now, she was assaulted in her college dorm room by her ex-partner, who lives in the same college, and with support from Oxford Sexual Abuse and Rape Crisis Centre, she reported the assault to the police during the Easter holidays. On return to the university, she was terrified her assaulter would find out that she'd reported him to the police and therefore try and hurt her again. And so, on advice by the Crisis Centre, she spoke to the principal of her college about putting in place measures to protect her. Months went by, months. And eventually, the college set up what is known as a no-contact agreement. Now, this banned both students from entering each other's accommodations and set out separate times to enter the dining hall, which sounds perfectly sensible. Except that the agreement was conditional, and by the way, the condition was expulsion if they broke this. It was conditional on neither party making any information about the assault, the police case, or indeed the college available in any way publicly. That's shameful. Yes. What it did, and this is Lucy's own words, she says, and I quote, "I signed it, feeling terrified that if I didn't agree to it, he would be able to enter my accommodation without consequence. But I was incredibly upset about the effective gag clause. I was terrified of telling absolutely anyone anything, because what if college interpreted that as publicly available? I felt I couldn't talk to anyone, my friends, or my mental health support, or my GP. I felt very alone." And the thing is, Madam Deputy Speaker, this isn't an isolated case. It Happens Here, which is a group supporting victims like Lucy, has received testimonies from survivors across several different colleges under similar gagging orders. I am aware of young women who are my constituents who are scared to talk to me directly about it because they are fearful that that would then invoke this gagging clause and they would be expelled. And so they fear they have to choose between their voice and their future. The irony of this, of course, is that in cases of sexual violence, it is that discrepancy of power that is at the core. It's not just about sex, it's also about power. And so these young women have gone from a situation where they were robbed of their power into another situation where that power is taken away, this time by the college. Now, I want to congratulate those survivors for having the courage to come forwards to either It Happens Here or indeed to Lucy for coming to me, and I would urge others to do the same, to Oxford Student Union and especially Fionn Samuels, who have been brilliant at bringing these cases forwards. And I'm pleased to report, Madam Deputy Speaker, that Lady Margaret Hall, the college that Lucy attended, has now taken an important first step, and they've signed a pledge committing to never use these types of non-disclosure agreements in cases of sexual misconduct, harassment or bullying. And for this they should be applauded. But you know what's shameful is that they are the only Oxbridge college who have signed this. The only one, not a single other. There are other universities that have done it, but actually this is rife across the country in many other universities. I am grateful to the university's minister, who has called on all colleges to sign this, and also to the Home Secretary, who earlier today condemned such use of gagging clauses and agreed to meet with me so that I can relay more stories of these victims. But for these survivors of sexual violence, delivering justice begins, surely, with allowing them to tell their story. We should be helping those victims reclaim their power. These gagging clauses in the cases of sexual misconduct do nothing to help this. In fact, they do the exact opposite. They are immoral, they have no place in modern society, and I simply urge the Minister, please can we find a way to address this in this Parliament?